Whether you had a good weekend or a bad one, the one thing we all can't wait to find out is what the numbers look like for next week. Well, wait no longer, because we have them for you. Time to close the door on this week, and let's take a look ahead to next on The Opening Line Show.
Welcome in, The Opening Line Show here at the tip of the Strip, the South Point Hotel and Casino. Matt Youmans, Sam Panayotovich on VSiN, Sirius XM 204, VSiN.com, and Fubo TV. Justin Tucker. I still don't get it. I don't have to get it.
I'm ready to turn the page to NFL Week 8 because
Come on, man.
Today was no fun. Not only did I lose the Ravens, the most accurate kicker in NFL history, missed the first extra point of his career, but I also had the Cowboys, and there was a phantom snap infraction that pushes the ball back 5 yards, and they missed the field goal that could have forced the game to overtime. Now, once you get to OT, those games are coin flips. Not to say you're going to win them, but you would like to have the opportunity.
We'll go to John Murray and Dave Tuley momentarily here. They're live at the Westgate Superbook, but the NFC North continues to be very up and down. And look at the Chicago Bears, who today, they almost got inside that game, and they almost tied it late with a Hail Mary from Trubisky to Kevin White. But the Bears were in first place heading into this Thursday, and now they find themselves in last.
Well, I'm not shocked because we talked about this 2 weeks ago when the Bears were on top of the division and some people in Chicago were celebrating. Bears are in first. I said the trick is staying in first, not celebrating that you're in first after week 5. And, the Bears go to South Beach. They fall flat, and this week they lose again. No big surprise. And, it's not like a big negative or anything that the Bears lose to the Patriots at home. But they got to start finding ways to win. And I said this 2 weeks ago, and the reason why I like the Patriots against the Patriots know how to win games. The Bears are still finding ways to lose. They haven't learned how to win yet. And part of that's because they have a young quarterback.
And a first-year head coach who's still also learning on the fly. All right, let's go a little bit north and a little bit east. The Westgate Superbook standing by the director of said Superbook, John Murray, and Dave Tuley, VSiN.com senior reporter. Gentlemen, great day of action. And, of course, the home dogs, Dave. They've been really good all season long, but this weekend, not so much. 0-4, but the Redskins get it done as a home dog, essentially. So 1-4 for the home dogs.
Right. I've said for a long time, whenever you hear of a trend being hot, that's usually the time it's about to reverse. So you always have to tread lightly and still be selective. You hear all the time about different trends that are, 19 out of the last 20 or, 10-2 and all that. But, usually by then the odds makers, have a clue too and adjust the lines. And so, you usually don't want to be in on late on those.
Thursday Night Football. Let's go there. It's week number 8. John Murray, Miami at Houston. The first place, by the way, Houston Texans.
Yep.
I know they're favored, John. What's the number?
We opened at 7.5, Sam. We had a lot of wise guys taking the 7.5. We went to -7, -120. And then we had one of our house players bet 48,000 at -7, -120.
Wow.
So we went back to 7.5.
Why, John, why do you suspect a big bet on Houston?
Why did that gentleman make that wager?
Yeah.
They're on a 4-game winning streak. I think Miami has shown itself to have some warts. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. You'd have to ask him, Matt. But, I mean, the public loves to bet the teams that are playing well.
I guess. I mean, if I was going to put up that kind of money, the Texans would not be the team I would put it on.
They've only covered 2 of 7 this year.
Won 2 games in overtime. It's not like this win streak is one for the record books.
Dave, you're Mr. Texan, too.
Was good.
Dave, you're Mr. Texan, and your eyes went to the ceiling when he said somebody laid 48,000 on the Texans.
Well, actually, I thought he meant that the bettor was on a 4-game winning streak, and that's why he had the money to bet that. But, no, the Texans, again, were my team before the season. I think I mentioned either on last Sunday night's opening line show or on one of our other many VSiN shows that I re-upped at 60-1 to win the Super Bowl on them. Again, they're winning ugly, but they are finally winning for me.
3-point win over the Colts, Youmans. 3-point win over the Cowboys. They beat the Bills by 7, and today they played well against Jacksonville. But I think really I'm more perplexed by Jacksonville's recent duds than I am by the Texans.
Yeah, I'm not impressed by a win over the Jags anymore. I mean, things have changed. Blake Bortles turns the ball over on seemingly every other possession, and the Texans won 2 of those games in overtime. And I'm not jumping on board with the theory that this is a hot team right now.
Philadelphia and Jacksonville. This one is in London. Blake Bortles has been really good, John, in London. 3-0 all time. This will be an early kick, 6:30 Pacific. I know Philly will be favored, but by how much?
We opened at 2.5 on Philly, Sammy, but one of our respected players bet it right when we opened it, and we went up to Philadelphia -3 even money for this game.
John, what do you suspect has happened to the Jaguars here, aside from Blake Bortles? Or is it just the fact that the Bortles problems are seeping into and infecting the rest of the team?
You know, Matt, it's hard to say. I mean, I know Bortles is not very good, but he's not this bad, and he's just dragged that entire offense down with him. It's hard to put your finger on exactly what's wrong with Jacksonville right now. Everything is wrong with Jacksonville right now. I mean, they've been horrible, I think, 3 weeks in a row now.
How about both of you guys? What do you think's wrong with the Eagles? They blow a big lead today, lose a game at home to Carolina. It looked like the Eagles had no business losing.
Yeah, I was stunned by that comeback by Carolina. This game is very intriguing. You throw in the trip to London in there. Jacksonville has made that trip a number of times, so maybe they might be a little more comfortable there. So I might grab that +3. But yeah, neither of these teams are playing well on either side of the ball right now.
AFC North, let's go there. Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Browns haven't been great in the win-loss column, but they've been great at the window. 7 games, they've covered 5 of them. They go to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, John.
Pittsburgh is 7.5-point favorite in this game. And I'll tell you another area the Browns are great, Sammy. The Browns are entertaining, man. They are great theater almost every week. Cleveland Browns games are just exciting.
Well, last week against the Chargers, not so exciting. But, John,
almost
you're
every
right.
week, man.
You're
almost.
right. That's what I know. I know you said almost, but every game but last week's game against the Chargers has been decided by 4 points or fewer. And the Browns are another team that team has not found discovered ways to win yet. It's a young team in this league. They've lost a lot of games. You still got to get past that losing culture, and I think it's hard. It's hard to take anything less than 3 with the Browns because they do find ways to lose, and it happened again today. Sam, you were watching the end of that game. How'd the Browns lose that game?
How did the Buccaneers win that game? That's the question I had. I mean, neither team was trying to win. The Browns, they got that punt, Dave. They got the punt at the 30, at their own 30. They get about 20 yards on the return, and then they fumble it. I mean, like, nobody was trying to win this game. It's almost like the team that didn't lose that came out victorious, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
I really thought both teams deserved the tie, and I thought we were going to get the 3rd tie of the year, but not quite.
All right, let's move to Denver, Kansas City. And, of course, this will change depending on what happens with Sunday Night Football, and this will go off the board pretty soon. But Kansas City at home against Denver. John, what did you guys come up with here?
Kansas City, a 9-point favorite at home against the Broncos. Denver, 3 extra days to prepare for this game. They had the Thursday night game, a riveting game against the Cardinals 3 days ago.
Well, you look at this game. These teams met on was that Monday Night Football? It was a Monday night when that line dropped from 5 to 3.5.
Won by 4.
Chiefs win by 4, 28-24. They come back from 24. I thought it was an 11-point deficit, wasn't it?
It was. There was a touchdown by Denver to get it close.
Come back to win 28-24.
That was when the Chiefs were penalized, I think, 11 times, and the Broncos had 3.
I really thought the officials did a great job of keeping the Broncos in the game that night. When you look at the game in KC here, John, is it just a standard adjustment basically from the line opening at 5 in Denver to 9 in Kansas City, a home field advantage of about 3.5 or so?
That, plus you've got a few extra days to prepare for the Broncos in this game. But, yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. That was a real wise guy play, though, that Denver play. Almost all of our sharper players came in on the Broncos in that game, the first game.
Yeah. I don't know how many wise guys will come in on the Broncos here. They just finally won a road game under Vance Joseph. They blew out the Arizona Cardinals. Dave, what did you make of that game Thursday night? The Broncos take the Cardinals to the woodshed.
Yeah, I didn't take too much away from that. I mean, yeah, the Broncos jumped out early, and it was really no contest. So, I mean, I don't I mean, since I am expecting them going to be in the Broncos here at +8.5, I would hope that I would have gotten more out of that game. But, again, I think it's more just again, the price and the fact these two teams know each other a lot, that I'm going to be on the Broncos.
And there's a good chance, Matt, this thing will close maybe at 10. I mean, it's 9 right now. Could be 10.
Yeah. Depending on how the Chiefs look week in, week out, if the public keeps cashing on the Chiefs, who have been perfect against the spread, that it's more likely that line would go up. I was a little bit surprised. John, you're talking about lines that move. I was surprised that the line moved against the Rams in San Francisco today. That was 10. It dropped. I saw it at 8.5 at the Westgate.
8 globally.
And suddenly, a Rams team that nobody wanted to bet against about 3 weeks ago was a bet against team today against the sad sack 49ers, and the Rams just took them to the woodshed again. So what happens? Why do you feel like money showed up against the Rams? Why do you feel like money might show up against a team like the Chiefs?
I think the Rams failed to cover as a big favorite the previous 2 weeks against Seattle and Denver. Third straight road game for the Rams today. 49ers looked pretty frisky on Monday Night Football. They had every opportunity to win that game against the Packers. So I think that line did look a little high, and a lot of people jumped in on it. Did not work out too well for those people.
I understand they didn't cover at Seattle and Denver, but I have more respect for those two teams than the Niners. And, John, don't you want to avoid or resist handicapping games with recency bias and say, this team looked good on Monday Night Football, I'm going to bet them this week?
Well, you certainly should do that. But you know that we always see people come in and bet on the teams they just saw play well. Yeah. That's very common, especially in the NFL, and especially in a Monday night game like that. I mean, you saw Dallas had that very impressive win last week, and then that line moved to Dallas favored today against the Redskins, which I thought would probably happen. I figured that the public would come in heavily on Dallas after that impressive win over Jacksonville the previous Sunday.
Speaking of frisky, John, Trubisky with his feet, frisky. Trubisky with his arm, no, risky. Not so much. Risky, yes, very risky. Chicago was down 14. They almost tied it with a Hail Mary. I don't know how the Patriots let all that happen, but the Patriots do win and cover. Now Chicago remains at home, and they take on the New York Jets next week.
Trubisky's got wheels, Sammy. He's got some wheels. We opened this game 6. We had a gentleman lay 50,000 on that, on the Bears -6. So we went to 6.5.
Sam, you bet that much on the Bears?
No, I did not. That would not be myself. Although this is a good spot for Chicago. I wouldn't be on the Jets here. Jets on the road. And the Jets, Dave, they've been enjoying some home cooking. They've been home, I think, 3 of their last 4 games. They got exposed today by a really good Minnesota team, and now they got to go to Chicago. I don't like the spot for the Jets. And you love dogs. Do you like the Jets here?
Actually, I do. Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you a little.
Okay.
I kind of the Jets. I mean, yeah, they got blown out, but every time I looked up, they did keep coming back. I mean, never got close, of course. But I mean, I think this is I think it's a bad spot actually for the Bears. I think there will be a letdown, going against the, New England Patriots. Now I'm only playing the Jets. I mean, I think there'll be a letdown, and I just don't know about them being favored by more than a field goal.
I'm sold. Yeah. I'm sold.
Well, it does seem like a lot of points to lay with the Bears. Dave Tuley loves dogs. He loves home dogs, road dogs, neutral field dogs.
Neutral dogs this morning, that's right.
Neutral dogs, and he loves hot dogs as well. Dave, how many hot dogs did you eat down at the Westgate today?
Only one, and I'm starting a petition to bring back the chicken wings. They had the chicken tenders in the theater, but no chicken wings the last couple of weeks. So I'm starting a petition.
I will look into that, Dave.
Okay.
All right. The under caches there, under 4.5 hot dogs caches.
We need the Bears need to shore up their special teams. Yeah, they're going to beat anybody by a touchdown next week.
Yeah, kickoff return for a touchdown and a block punt for a touchdown. Not going to cut it.
No, special teams are a big problem for the Bears. And when you look at the Jets and Sam Darnold, you're going to ride a roller coaster with rookie quarterbacks. And that happens again today. Darnold throws 3 picks.
Not good. Not going to cut it. He's Matt Youmans. I'm Sam Panayotovich, live at the Westgate. Dave Tuley and John Murray will come back and look at more games for week number 8. It's the Opening Line Show here on VSiN.
This is the Opening Line Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
Got a hot tip on a horse race? Bet it at expressbet.com. ExpressBet is legal, U.S.-based, and offers live wagering and video for more than 300 racetracks from around the world, including Gulfstream, Santa Anita, Naira, and more. And as a special offer for listeners, you can get a $20 sign-up bonus. That's right, $20 in house money to bet the races. Just visit expressbet.com/Brent and sign up using promo code BRENT20. ExpressBet, the most trusted name in online betting. Must be 18 year old to open an account with ExpressBet LLC and reside in the state where such activity is legal, void, or prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 866-522-4700.
Welcome back. We give you the information to get the jump on next week's pro football games. Right now on the Opening Lines Show.
Welcome back. It is VSiN. Matt Youmans, Sam Panayotovich looking ahead to the lines for week number 8. We go back to the Westgate Superbook. Dave Tuley, VSiN.com, and John Murray, Sportsbook Director at the Westgate, standing by. Guys, let's resume NFC East. Washington and the Giants in Washington very lucky to hang on today. There was a false start, I guess, on the Cowboys, and they missed that field goal. Giants will play Monday night, but John, when you look at this one, Washington at New York, who's favored and by how much?
Redskins a cheap favorite here, a 1-point favorite on the road against the New York Giants, Sammy.
I've watched the replay of the snap infraction call against the Cowboys 5 times, and maybe John Murray made the call. He's a Redskins fan.
Oh, yeah, huge Redskins fan.
John, what happened? I mean, did you see the penalty there? And, I don't want to whine too much about it's a 5-yard penalty. He should have made the kick. But where was the penalty? I don't see it. It's
I didn't understand the call, Matt, but I'll take it. I'm going to move on to next week with the W.
Redskins.
No, I agree with you though. I don't understand that call.
No, but that's something, guys. I mean, we're joking about it, but you could call something like that on every kick, right? I mean, like there's always movement on kicks. It's like the roughing the snapper last week with Michigan, Wisconsin. Snappers get pushed over all the time. It's just we pick and choose when we call these penalties, and I benefited from it. I had the Redskins in the contest, but I feel dirty about it because I feel like it shouldn't have happened.
I don't think you should.
What was that? What was that Michigan long snapper's name, Sam?
Cheeseman.
Yeah. Right, Cheeseman.
How dare you forget his name?
I just forgot. I briefly forgot.
That's 2 weeks in a row. A long snapper affects the outcome of a game. Cheeseman in the Michigan-Wisconsin game and in the Redskins-Cowboys game today. I don't think you should feel dirty about the Redskins. They were up 20-10. They had the game won.
I guess you're right.
Redskins, I think, were the right side. You look at the statistics, and if you watch the game, I think the Redskins were the right side.
Let's move to Seattle and Detroit. In Detroit, talk about teams that have been good at the window. The Lions have been awesome covering numbers here at home against the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks have to fly all the way to Detroit. And the Lions, I guess, would be favored here, right, John?
Yeah, Detroit's a 2.5-point favorite. Seattle coming off their bye week. They were in London last week. They had this week off.
Lions have covered 5 of 6, Youmans. 5 of 6 times they've cashed your ticket this year.
Yeah, I'm not buying into the Lions. This is a team I bet under the win total of season win total of 8, and it looks like we'll have to sweat that out. But it's going to be a push or a win. I cannot see the Lions getting to 9 wins, but this is a game I'd like to see the Seahawks go in and steal. I avoid the Lions. Usually I pass or bet against when it comes to the Lions.
Dave, how do you break this one down? Seattle at Detroit. What's your biggest key?
But I think Seattle, flew all the way to London, so I don't think the trip to Detroit will bother them that much. But I think Seattle's going to be the right side. I think it looks like a good teaser play to me up to plus 8.5.
Tampa Bay, Cincinnati. Bengals, of course, we'll see what happens on Sunday night. But the Bengals, almost a touchdown favorite against those Buccaneers who fumbled and stumbled their way to a 3-point win today, John.
Yeah, Bengals a 6-point favorite here, Sam. This should be a real battle of wits between Marvin Lewis and Dirk Cutter, two coaches in this game. We got to watch Cutter and Hugh Jackson trade wits today, so get another good one next week.
That was pretty exciting today to watch Cutter.
That was my favorite. It's probably my favorite game of the year so far. Was that Browns game today, Matt? Those two coaches, it was like they were taking turns trying to hand the game back to each other, and the ref threw a flag on like every single play. It was outstanding football.
It was a flag fest. It was no fun to watch. It was not the finest of the NFL to showcase today. But when I look at the Bucs and the predicament they're in with Dirk Cutter and Jameis Winston, I never want to bet on the Bucs at this point. That defense is bad. You don't know what you're going to get from Winston, and it's a clumsily coached team. To me, it's Tampa Bay is kind of in the Detroit class, even though Detroit's got a better quarterback. For me, it's usually bet against the Bucs or pass, and we'll see how the Bengals look. The Bengals are. Here's the thing about Cincinnati: a totally different team. A lot of times, home and road. If you throw out the Steelers games, the Bengals can look really, really good at home sometimes, and look like roadkill. If you're going to play the Bengals, I'd say play them at home in this spot against a poorly coached team. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure, Sammy, I would say 95% this is a game that will not be on my card either way.
I won't look at it. I won't watch it. There's no way. Only 22 penalties today, by the way, between Cleveland and Tampa.
Those are 22 accepted penalties, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. 14 on the Cleveland Browns. John, I don't get it. I still think this guy, Hugh Jackson, I don't know if he's got pictures of somebody. I don't know what the deal is here. He's held him back from a couple wins. Is he going to be the coach next year of the Browns?
No.
You don't get fired after going 0-16. I don't know what you can do to get fired. How could anybody go 0-16 and not be fired?
And Matt always says, and you're right, they could have been at one point, they could have been 4-0 this season, but at the end of the day, they're not, and it's because of him.
Well, it's not all because of him. I mean, it's a culture of losing there. You got a lot of players who don't know how to win games, but, I mean, Hugh Jackson has no idea what he's doing. He is not going to be the coach of the Browns next year. I'll make you a bet on that right now if you want to.
I don't want to put anything on him.
He survived, I think, last year because the Browns were trying to lose John Murray. I think the Browns wanted to tank and go 1-15 and get the top draft pick last year. I think they were trying to lose, and that's why he came back.
Well, that's going to be a really good job, Matt, all jokes aside, because there's a lot of talent there in Cleveland.
Yeah.
They got a lot of draft picks coming up again next spring. That should be a really desired job, let's say, if you're an assistant coach or maybe a college coach.
We'll pop that up one more time. Listen to this stat here. So there have been 13 games when the Browns have been in a 3-point game either way. 13 games in a 3-point margin. The Browns under Hugh Jackson, John, are 2-10-1.
That's outstanding. What's Hugh Jackson's record now? I think it's like 3-35-1 as the Browns head coach.
I can't count that high on the losing side.
That's not very good, Sam.
No, that's pretty bad. He was 8-8. He was 8-8 1 year with the Raiders. So his career record, John, is much, much better. I would have
his
to.
Percentage is much higher. Yes.
I think John Dorsey is going to oust Hugh Jackson. Whether it happens late in the season or after the season, it's going to happen. And I've said this several times. Keep an eye on Urban Meyer. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the next coach of the Browns.
And then Jeff Brom goes to Ohio State.
No, we don't want that to happen.
All right, so 3-35-1 for Hugh Jackson. And there was a point earlier this season when they were 1-31-1. Now 3-35-1. All right, let's move on. Baltimore at Carolina. And the Panthers with a sneaky, sexy win on the road in Philly. They're now 4-2 on the season. They'll be at home against the Ravens. Who's favored here, John?
Yeah, we opened this game pick. We actually saw money come in both ways. Right now we've got Baltimore as a 1-point favorite on the road. It's a tough one if you had the Ravens today. You got to think Justin Tucker is probably going to make the extra point and you're going to at least get a crack at it in overtime, right?
Brutal. I had the Ravens today, so the most accurate kicker in NFL history misses the first extra point of his career. I still can't figure out how
college and pro.
Huh?
College and pro.
And they were up 17-7 in the second half, too.
Right.
I mean, that's a tough loss. You got to think you're at least going to get your cuts in OT. I still can't believe Justin Tucker. I'd be shocked if Justin Tucker missed a 52-yard field goal. For him missing an extra point is astonishing.
So including college, he was 293 of 293 coming into this game. In the NFL, Matt, 222 for 222.
Just unbelievable.
It's mind-boggling that he missed the kick.
Look at his eyes, yeah.
I had the Ravens, and when he missed the kick, I just about fell off my chair. I was like, did that just happen? Did that just freaking happen? And it did. I still can't believe it.
It was a tough one. We had a gentleman come in, laid a pretty big bet on the Saints right before kickoff. So that wasn't a welcome miss here at the Superbook either.
All right.
I was happy though.
Oh, all right. Well, as long as Dave was happy.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Somebody tell Dave to shut up. All right.
All right, last one.
Last 3 minutes.
Cut his mic.
Say something.
All right, Dave, you can lead us off, I guess. Indianapolis at Oakland. We'll get the line from John, and then, Dave, your initial thought on the line. Indy at Oakland.
Colts -1.5 at Oakland.
Dave?
I really don't want any part of these two teams.
He set you up, Dave. Got to give him something.
Please set me up on a game that's halfway attractive.
Well, you got a home dog. What do you want? You got the Oakland Raiders getting a point and a half.
Again,
off their bye week.
It's the Oakland Raiders is the problem there. Again, we'll see later in the week where this line goes, but I'm not dying to bet the Raiders right now.
John, I talked to you before the season. You and Ed Salmons had the opinion that the Raiders could be, I think in your words, terrible this year, and you've been correct.
Like Ed Salmons.
Yeah, you've been correct. So you and Ed Salmons both thought the Raiders were going to be terrible. That's turned out to be true. So the Raiders come off a bye. Marshawn Lynch is out. Is there any reason to believe in the Raiders off a bye in this spot at home against the Colts?
Well, Matt, you just mentioned that the Browns kept Hugh Jackson because they probably were trying to lose. I think that could be true of the Raiders. It looks to me like they're stripping down and they're just going to suck until they get out here to Las Vegas. That's why they traded for these draft picks. And I heard they're shopping Amari Cooper, or they took offers for Amari Cooper. No, there's no reason to think the Raiders will play well next week. I don't think that they want to.
There's no incentive to win. What's the incentive?
No, there's not. And they're much better off being terrible this year and next year, clearing cap space, accumulating draft choices, and then moving to Las Vegas with a young roster and plenty of cap room. I think a lot of free agents are going to be interested in moving out to Las Vegas, no state income tax, new stadium.
Let's talk about the Colts for a minute. They looked great today, but they were playing the Bills and Derek Anderson. But the thing, Dave, about the Colts is they're getting a lot of guys back healthy, and they were not healthy for the first 6 weeks or so of the season. You're finally starting to see the Colts at something close to full strength. Obviously, they still have a lack of talent on the defensive side of the football and at the receiver positions. But are you starting to believe in the Colts a little bit to where you say, hey, I might be able to play them here on the road against the rotten Raiders?
No, not this week, but I am looking down the line. I mean, Andrew Luck, again, when he's got the line blocking for him, he can always get you in the back door. So, I mean, later on in the season, I think that there'll be definitely times I'll be betting on them as dogs. Again, the defense needs to get better, though.
This is wild. Zach Kiefer at Z Kiefer. Johnny, Andrew Luck has thrown for more touchdowns in the last 4 games than the Cardinals, Titans, and Bills have all season.
Wow. That says a lot about Marcus Mariota. I mean, the Cardinals and Bills, I know what their excuse is. What's Marcus Mariota's excuse?
Cardinals, Titans, and Bills all season combined, Luck has thrown more touchdown passes in the past 4 games.
Yes. He has 15 in the last 4. And remember, they're always down. Usually, well, today they weren't down, but usually they're down, so he's got to throw, Dave.
Right, and today was the anomaly, I think. I think we'll see what we expect of the Colts moving forward.
We'll come back on the opening line show. We're halfway home. Matt Youmans, Sam Panayotovich live at the Westgate. John Murray and Dave Tuley. We've got the Late Slate Sunday, the Sunday Nighter, and the Monday Nighter. That's next on VSiN.
This is the Opening Line Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live. Welcome back. We give you the information to get the jump on next week's pro football games. Right now on the Opening Lines Show.
We're out of the locker room for half number 2 of the Opening Line Show. Matt Youmans and Sam Panayotovich. Mostly pro football here on the Opening Line Show, but we will talk college at the end of the show. We have some lines for week number 9 in the NCAA and also new numbers on the national championship. And I know that number on Alabama is getting more and more expensive as we welcome in Dave Tuley and John Murray live at the Westgate. Dave from VSiN.com and John, of course, sportsbook director at the Westgate. Guys, we resume late slate on Sunday, week number 8. San Francisco at Arizona. 2 teams that are both 1-6 this year. Who's favored?
Nobody. We're calling this game a pick'em, Sammy, and I wish you the best if you think you can pick this one.
I asked you, Sammy, who was going to be favored in this game. You shuffled through your papers and you said, pick 'em.
Pick 'em.
Pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em.
And,
the number, Sammy.
All right, these teams have already met, Dave, so go ahead and tell us what happened the last time the 49ers and Cardinals met in a very memorable game that will go down in NFL history.
Actually, I don't even remember what happened.
Cardinals. I took the
Cardinals
Cardinals
won.
+4 that week. They won the game outright. I think it was it Rosen's first start, Matt?
It sure was. Josh Rosen, actually, it might have been his second start.
Was it his second start?
I think he started at home the previous week, and then Arizona won on the road in his second start against San Francisco. Not that Josh Rosen's looked great or anything, but that was the point where the Cardinals actually were outgained. The 49ers doubled the Cardinals in yardage and then a lot of key numbers, offensive numbers, but committed 5 turnovers and lost that game. I kind of look at the Niners maybe in a little bit of a revenge spot here after dominating the first meeting statistically but losing. I would give the Niners a little bit of an edge here. Plus, I don't like a lot of what I've seen from Josh Rosen. I'm going to stick with my comparison that he is the next Jay Cutler. That's what I've seen so far early.
Harsh.
Accurate.
Well, if he's
at this point, it's accurate.
If he's the next Jay Cutler, he's going to make a lot of money and not win anything. And I think he's on track to do that. Plus, the Cardinals, Sam, have we seen any evidence that they have like a home field advantage?
No, there's nothing. And now Mike McCoy, I mean, he's gone, right? Didn't they just fire Mike McCoy?
Well, that's a positive because McCoy was one of the most conservative offensive coordinators in the league. So I think maybe the Cardinals will loosen it up and be a little bit better offensive team without him. But these teams met on October 7th. John Murray was sharp enough to take 4 with the Cards. Sir. That number closed at 3.
Yeah, we took him 2 on the edge.
And 28-18 was the final in that game. The Cards got the win on the road, closing as 3-point road dogs, and now it's a pick'em game in Arizona.
I also think, Dave, you look at people who look up, and people look at box scores all the time from the previous week. When you look at the box score for the Niners against the Rams, people will think, oh, well, maybe the Niners aren't that good, but now you're facing an inferior team, and I'd be looking at San Francisco to bounce back because they have a much better coaching staff, do they not?
I would agree with that. I think, yeah, the Niners, I don't think you can downgrade them too much. I mean, the Rams are on a roll right now, even though a couple games they didn't cover. But, I mean, yeah, getting blown up by the Rams, no shame in that. I mean, they're the Super Bowl favorite right now, and even the NFC's favorite over the AFC by 4, I believe, here at the Westgate. And I think that's all built into the Rams, I'm sure.
Packers came into this past week. They were 2-2-1, and we were questioning Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. They end up beating the Niners. They're now in second, just a half game behind the Vikings. But now they hit the road, and they face the Los Angeles Rams at the Coliseum. How big of a favorite, John?
Opened at 8.5. It's already gone up to Rams -9 here at the Superbook.
When is the last time, Dave Tuley, that Aaron Rodgers was a 9-point underdog?
I can't recall. Is that a rhetorical question?
No, I thought
probably never, Matt. There's no way.
I don't think so. And again, I think it's going to probably put me on the dog here.
I thought maybe you had researched that this afternoon, but you were eating hot dogs down at the theater.
No, only one.
Okay.
Hey, hot dog.
All right.
Take
so when you look at a game like this, Dave, I think it's going to be hard for a lot of people to turn down Aaron Rodgers and 9 points. Are you kidding me? On the flip side, you look at that Green Bay defense and say they could get shredded. So, Dave, how do you look at the game? You'll probably be on the Packers taking the points, right?
Right. You almost have to hope for a letdown on the Rams in this case, which, I mean, we have seen that a couple times, although usually on the road. But, again, I think Aaron Rodgers, just like I was talking about earlier with Andrew Luck, I mean, yeah, you always have that chance at the backdoor cover, even if you do get down big.
I get the number grab, but at the same time, did we not just watch Green Bay unable to stop San Francisco? You think they're going to stop the Rams?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at this game a little bit more this week. See what Green Bay's issues. See if they have any issues in terms of injuries on defense.
Couldn't stop C.J. Beathard.
I mean, the Rams have been on the road for. John, do you think this is? How do you look at this handicapping situation? Because a lot of times in sports, when a team is on a long road trip, you want to bet against that team on the first game back. Now that's more about baseball and in the NBA. But with the Rams here, we have a team that's been on a 3-week road trip. This is a first week back home. I'm inclined to think the Rams offense is just going to destroy this Green Bay defense. But, John, how do you look at it?
Well, you got a huge coaching edge for the Rams there. Sean McVay over Mike McCarthy. Packers defense is terrible. The Rams offense is carving up everybody.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be very hard for him to match the Rams offense score for score, because the Packers defense is so bad. And I just think the Rams will have such a huge coaching advantage in this game.
Let's go to Sunday night. We're looking at New Orleans and Minnesota. New Orleans, after losing that first game, they rallied back to beat the Browns, and they have since rattled off 4 in a row since then. Saints now 5-1, started 0-1, now they're 5-1. They are on the road at Minnesota. And, John, I don't need to tell you about revenge on the mind for the Vikings. Their season was ended last year, New Orleans, by a Case Keenum Hail Mary.
Yeah, Minnesota -2.5 was the opener. Now it's Minnesota -1.5. Very good win today from the Saints, winning at Baltimore. That was a very impressive win for New Orleans. Minnesota's been looking a lot better the last few weeks as well, so this should be the best game of the week next week.
I expect the Saints to win by 1 when Dan Bailey misses an extra point that would have tied the game and sent it.
Hey, you know what, Matt? That's a lot more believable than what happened today with Justin Tucker. I mean, that seems a lot more plausible than that.
A guy who was 293 of 293 in his career.
That's like the reverse Hugh Jackson.
Dave, it seems to me that a lot of people love to take points with the Saints when it's a back-to-back for the Saints on the road, which I think is it's always tough to pull off. But it seems like every time the Saints are catching points, it's tough for the betting public to turn down. Are you going to be on the Saints here with the points?
I don't like the fact that the line's already moved in that direction, but I probably will. Again, the Saints had them today, and I was really impressed. Even though they got down 17-7, that they rallied. They also had a chance early in that game that they were down. I think it was 4th and 2 at the 5-yard line. I'm sure John Murray, was cheering that they win on 4th down, but they didn't get it. But again, I mean, they were able to move against that number 1 defense quite well. And so, I mean, I think that's going to suit them well going up to Minnesota.
So Drew Brees has now defeated every NFL team throughout his career. All 32 teams Drew Brees has a victory over after getting the one against the Ravens today. But, Sammy, the loss to the Vikings in the playoffs has got to stick with them, right?
Sticks with me, too.
Yeah? Why is that?
40-1 future on the Saints.
Oh.
Yeah, it's brutal.
You know, Matt, that Baltimore-New Orleans game today was such a well-played game because both of those coaches actually understand the math of going forward on 4th down. Both Harbaugh and Peyton were both very aggressive, going for it on a lot of 4th down situations. I really appreciate that in a coach.
I do, too. And actually, I've always said, John, when I rank the top 5 coaches in the NFL, for the past 5-8 years, I've always had Sean Payton and John Harbaugh in that top 5. How about you?
Oh, I'm right there with you. I think John Harbaugh is an excellent coach. Sean Payton, of course, is excellent. Got to think right now it's those two plus Belichick and Sean McVay in some order.
Dave, I saw this last 3 games. Vance Joseph is
Vance Joseph. Excuse me.
Fifth.
Vance Joseph he's in a different category. And then there's a drop down, and then you have those 4.
5th or 6th. Dave, I saw this number. Vikings defense last 3 games. They've only allowed 5 third down conversions. 5 in the last 3 games. Are they still the cream of the crop in the North, in your opinion, Dave?
Well, that's why you go on 4th down, because you didn't make it on 3rd down. But I mean, definitely still the best defense in the division in the NFC North. And I think still the favorites moving forward.
Yeah, John, you guys have moved that number quite a bit. Vikings were plus 150 2 weeks ago, plus 125 last week, and I'm sure that might be a minus heading into this next week. Last game, Monday Night Football, New England Patriots. After they survive in Chicago, now they hit the road and face the Buffalo Bills in the state of New York. What's the number?
It's another Monday night gem, Sammy. New England, a 13-point favorite on the road at Buffalo. Buffalo needs to get Josh Allen back. I know that sounds crazy because Josh Allen has been pretty bad, but compared to Derek Anderson and Nathan Peterman, the kid looks pretty good, I think.
All right, our graphics showed the Bills as 13-point favorites.
I almost left. I almost drove to the Westgate.
Can I get a bet in on that somewhere? Where can we get the Patriots plus 13?
I will take the 13 with New England. That would be outstanding.
It'd be a solid bet. Here at the Superbook, it is minus 13.
Oh, okay.
Minus 13.
Oh, there we go. We fixed that. Okay, that makes
yeah.
a lot more sense. Patriots laying 13. John, what are the chances that we'll see 14 by the time this game kicks off?
I wouldn't be that surprised. You know that the sharper players are going to resist that, and they're always going to try to push the line down and not let the line get too high. It's got to be tough back in the Buffalo Bills right now, though. The Buffalo Bills, again, we've talked about this about a couple other teams, but the Bills want to lose this year. They're definitely better off losing the rest of the season.
Wasn't the Bills, wasn't that one of the sharper sides of the week at your guys' place? I mean, the number moved. It was like 8.5. Didn't it close about 7? Wasn't there actually some positioning on Buffalo today?
Yeah, there was definitely some sharp money that came in on the Bills, lowered it from 7.5 to 7. I guess those people hadn't seen Derek Anderson play in a while. He looked pretty brutal today.
And there's no incentive here, like you mentioned, John, with the Raiders. Is there really an incentive with Buffalo? Are you trying to win games? Are you trying to hang around? I mean, you don't want to be with both Oakland and Buffalo. You don't want to be the Chicago Bulls of the NFL. When your objective is to get a top 2 or top 3 pick and then you win a bunch of games, there's no point, in my opinion, for Buffalo or Oakland to try to win many more games.
Mediocrity leads to misery, right? I mean, it's if you're mediocre, you're going to go nowhere. So you either have to get really bad to get good a lot of times, and that's what one of John Murray's favorite teams in sports, the Philadelphia 76ers, had to do.
I do like the 76ers. You know, the Redskins are like the kings of staying right at 500. They showed a graphic during the game today where they were like 4-4 their last 8, 5-5 their last 10, 6-6 their last 12. It was funny. I mean, they always do just enough to not make the playoffs but not get a good draft pick every year.
So
Smart.
What number, Dave, what number would you need on Buffalo as a home dog? I know 13 is not enough. What number would you need to take Buffalo?
Well, first of all, I'm wondering, do you guys know if Josh Allen is expected to come back next week?
We have no idea.
Just talked to Josh about 15 minutes ago. He told me he's questionable.
He's day to day, aren't we all?
Now, I guess I would say I would take like a plus 13 with the Bills with Josh Allen. And we saw how Mitchell Trubisky was able to scramble against the Patriots today. I mean, Josh Allen at least has that ability to extend plays and make yards on the ground. But if it's Derek Anderson or Josh Peterman or whoever they wheel out there, otherwise I probably wouldn't even take at plus 14 or more.
That's Dave Tuley, VSiN.com. John Murray, Sportsbook Director at the Westgate. He's Matt Youmans. My name is Sam Panayotovich. Another quick check at your lines here. Houston, -7 against Miami. Philadelphia laying 3 against Jacksonville in London. Pittsburgh, 7.5-point favorites at home against Cleveland. Denver and Kansas City off the board. Chicago, 6.5-point favorite at home against the Jets. The Redskins, -1 at the Giants. Detroit laying 2.5 at home to Seattle. Tampa Bay, Cincinnati off the board. Baltimore, -1 at Carolina. Indy, -1.5 at Oakland. San Francisco, Arizona. Flip a coin. It's a pick 'em. Green Bay and the Rams. Rams -9 in L.A. Minnesota -1.5 against New Orleans. And the Patriots on Monday night laying 13 to the Buffalo Bills. We have college numbers and some futures to win the national championship. That's next on the Opening Line Show here on VSiN.
This is the Opening Line Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live. Welcome back. We give you the information to get the jump on next week's pro football games. Right now on the Opening Lines Show.
Pro slate is done. Matt Youmans, Sam Panayotovich, John Murray, Dave Tuley standing by at the Westgate. If you missed anything, you can always watch on VSiN.com the full replay of the Opening Line Show. We do it every Sunday, 5 Pacific and 8 Eastern. We went through all the games, the Westgate openers for week number 8. And now we can talk a little college. And, John, we've got your numbers here at the Westgate Superbook. To win the college football playoff, Alabama now 2-5. 2-5 to win the whole thing. Clemson 7-2. Notre Dame 7-1. Ohio State 10-1. Michigan and Georgia 12-1, Oklahoma 30, LSU 40, Texas 50. I could probably stop there. Central Florida 60, West Virginia 100. I'm going to stop there, Matt. Alabama though 2-5, a 2-5 favorite to win the whole thing.
If Tua doesn't get hurt, I don't see how Alabama can lose. So, John, how high could that price go? Do you think that's something that's going to be pretty steady until January, 2-5?
It's hard to go higher than minus 250, Matt. They're still going to have to win 2 games in the college football playoff against some combination of, let's say, Clemson, the winner of the Big Ten, maybe Michigan, Oklahoma possibly. You know, I think Clemson is not that far off from Alabama. Clemson looked very impressive on Saturday. They dismantled North Carolina State. I mean, they look like they've clearly taken that number 2 spot, especially after Ohio State's performance on Saturday night.
No, I'm with you, John. Minus 250, I think, is about topped out, that price on Bama. Maybe minus $3 is it could get that high, but I can't see it getting over $3. And Alabama does have some teams it's got to worry about. I think Michigan is getting better all the time. Clemson, like you said, with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, is going to put some heat on the Tide. Notre Dame, I'm not so sure yet.
Yeah, me either.
Ohio State, as the Buckeyes currently sit, they are no threat to a team like Alabama. They have so many issues on that team that were exposed by Purdue last night. I think Georgia's a team you still have to take seriously, though.
12-1, and the one team I looked at, too, if only they had a defense, and I know that's half the battle. If Oklahoma had a defense, they've got the offense to get up and down the field, but that defense is awful, and they're 30-1 right now. Dave, any of those teams, aside from Alabama, you might be looking at?
What's the Ohio State price?
10-1.
To climb back in there, that's almost a fair price. Again, that's going to come down to the Ohio State Michigan game anyway in the Big Ten, right? So, I mean that's the only one that really looks like any potential value.
I know John Murray's a West Virginia guy. He's a Redskins super fan and a West Virginia graduate.
Super fan.
But how about LSU? Is LSU at 40-1? I bet you guys might be interested in here.
You know, I've been picking against LSU all year, Matt. They've made me look foolish week after week. I'll let Dave handle that question.
I don't think they can match up. I don't think anyone matches up against Alabama. So, I think, they might be 40-1 to make the playoff.
Yeah,
I think Clemson can give Alabama a game, Matt. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to beat Alabama, but I think they can give them a game. They have the athletes. They can match up with them. But Alabama certainly would be favored, and I would expect them to win.
I agree. I think Clemson's got the best shot, and the odds reflect that. Now, Sam, we're going to get to see Alabama and LSU here in about 2 weeks, right?
I can't wait for it. And Kenny White said the number. He said he'd make the number 17.
So Tide would be laying 17 in Baton Rouge.
That's what he said.
I would like to know when the last time LSU was that big of a home favorite. Dave, can you get on that? A home dog.
I was going to ask John what the game of the year line is here at the Westgate. I thought I saw 13 last week. Alabama minus 13 at LSU.
I feel like Matt's giving out a lot of assignments on the show today. No, I think it's a little short of 17, Matt. Mm-hmm. I'd probably make it more in the 14 range. But we don't have the college games of the year up right now.
No, I'll check with Bruce Marshall at the Gold Sheet because he's got all those records. I really can't recall a time where LSU's been that big of a home dog.
And the first half line, if the game's 17, the first half line will be 14.
Yeah. 16 and a half.
At this point, you got to.
Alabama gets up 14-0 before I even know the game has started most of the time.
John, last 2 weeks before I had the game on, I got home, I went to turn it on. It's 7-0 in the first minute. I didn't even have the game on yet. They already scored.
They're unbelievable. We were talking about doing this prop, which team will score first every week in the Alabama games. Alabama would be a pretty prohibitive favorite in that one, guys.
Oh, and they're like minus $8.
Peek behind the curtain.
They're like minus $8 to win the first quarter now. I mean, it's insane. All right, Dave, let's look at a couple college games here. We'll start with Florida and Georgia, the cocktail party. It's a neutral game, of course, in Jacksonville. We're seeing Georgia -7 here against Florida on a neutral field.
I think, big rivalry game, neutral field. And Florida's been pretty frisky this year, as we like to say here on the opening line show. So I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think kind of a 2017 kind of barn burner.
Florida is very good defensively. They have a very good defense.
Iowa, Penn State. This one is in Happy Valley, and believe it or not, the best cover team in the Big Ten, the Iowa Hawkeyes. They have covered almost all of their games but one. The only game they didn't cover was against Wisconsin. Penn State only laying 5 at home against Iowa, John.
Yeah, I think Iowa is a team that's really being overlooked in the Big Ten, Sam. I mean, this is one of the best Iowa teams in recent memory. They can give the Nittany Lions a game in Happy Valley, especially if James Franklin's punting and kicking field goals on 4th and short again like he did against Ohio State.
James Franklin's got to be one of the worst coaches in college football. When it comes to game management, the guy is just a train wreck. And, we saw Penn State barely survive against Indiana a couple days ago, and James Franklin tried to blow that game again. It's just it's incredible how that guy manages to blow games where it looks like the Nittany Lions have it wrapped up. All right, we got a few more games to go over, right?
Ultimate letdown, ? Washington State, 7-0 against the number, guys. Game day was just in Pullman. They look great. They beat Oregon, and Mike Leach not kicking or punting in the fourth quarter with a 7-point lead. He goes for it on 4th and 6. But now you go to Stanford, and the Cardinal laying 3.5.
Mike Leach is just a phenomenal coach, Sam. But I agree with you. It's a really tough spot for his team after that emotional game, that win over Oregon. It's a tough spot asking him to go on the road at Stanford.
Yeah, it's a flat spot. But I tell you what, I'm scared to lay points with Stanford because David Shaw gets a lead, Sam, and he just sits on that lead.
On it.
He will run.
Who do you like in that matchup, Matt? Mike Leach against David Shaw. Who do you think is going to be smarter on 4th and short?
I like Mike Leach as a big favorite in that matchup, Sam and John, because we were talking about this, Sammy. When David Shaw gets a lead, and it happened against Arizona State, he just runs in the line 3 times and punts it back to you and says, I'm going to let my defense win the game. Do you want to lay points with a coach like that?
I do not. We got about 30 seconds left, guys. Quick thoughts on Texas laying 3 at Oklahoma State.
I'm going to take it away.
I think it's a toss-up. I mean, I think the line's right. I would rather go back to the Washington State game.
Suspiciously short line is what I'll say about it. It looks a little short with the way Oklahoma State's been playing.
Go ahead,
Texas is on a roll.
Yeah, I took them against USC earlier this year, and I think Matt shot me down saying they're one of the 2 worst teams in the Pac-12. But Washington State has been very good to me this year, and I like them as the plus 3.5 here.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate the time.
Take care, guys.
It's John Murray and Dave Tuley. Tuley taking shots today, telling jokes and taking shots. I like it.
He's a funny guy, man. He's a funny guy.
That does it for us. Mitch and Paul back bright and early tomorrow, 4 a.m. Pacific, 7 on the East Coast.
This is the Opening Lines Show, the first look at next week's pro football lines. You can listen to us on SiriusXM Channel 204, watch us online at VSiN.com, and follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live.
I'm Brent Musburger, reminding you that the football betting season is here. There is nothing like it. Are you ready to celebrate the thrill of victory and cash a ticket even on defeats? Sharpen your edge now with the help of Matt Youmans, Dave Tuley, and the rest of my guys in the desert. We'll get you prepared for the football season with exclusive handicapping stories and data that you won't find anywhere else. Go to vsin.com/subscribe for the package that makes sense for you, including a 1-week trial at no charge. Our new all-access subscription includes Point Spread Weekly, VSiN's digital magazine designed to make you a better handicapper and avoid the agony of defeat. You'll also get VSiN's 140-plus page college football betting guide, followed by our comprehensive pro football betting guide. Sign up now, vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe. Remember, cashing tickets is what it's all about.